Hello and welcome back to Transfer Preview, where we put silly season underneath the microscope. Yes, no one-on-one for a little while. In the build-up to the January window opening every Saturday, we will be doing a transfer preview. It is my pleasure to be joined by Sam Abasaki on this Saturday morning. Oba, how are you, my friend?
I'm very good, bro. I'm cold. I said it on the podcast the other day, but nothing's really changed. Actually, it's got quite better, but it started raining, so I guess it really is winter in London. But aside from that, football's going very well, so I'm excited to get into this.
Yeah, and you're off to the O2 tonight. You've got a gig to warm your soul as well.
Yeah, Wizkid, baby. All of you Nigerians, you know about Wizkid, and this is the last day of his tour that he's doing in the O2. So I can't wait, to be honest.
Oh, that'd be mega. I mean, I got to put my hands up. I had no idea who that was until 5 minutes ago. Looked him up on Insta, and the pyrotechnics, the lights, it looked like you're in for an absolute treat. But speaking of treats, we're going to kick off with the transfer we like, Oba. And there's talks that Arsenal could sign Dejan Kulusevski. What's been going on with this one?
Yeah, we've known for a while that Arsenal and Spurs have been interested in the right winger from Juventus, but I think now it's kind of heating up a little bit more. He's obviously capped 20 times by his country. He's endured a frustrating time since he's joined the old lady, since he switched in January 2020. He scored 8 goals and has assisted 9 times in 68 appearances, but has only started 22 league games, 42% of the total available, and 3 Champions League games, 23% of the total available. And obviously when he came, there was a lot of hype around what the impact he's going to have and how he's going to be a part of, you know, the new guard at the old lady, but it's not really happened. We've seen obviously since Allegri came in that everyone thought that would be like a new lease of life for him, but it literally wasn't. He's only played 521 league minutes. That's 16th in the squad, and I think now with the way Spurs are going and obviously Arsenal as well, they're probably looking at options that they can get in January. Kulusevski is probably frustrated, as I've mentioned, so I think it makes sense for this rumour to, you know, be building momentum. And you obviously spoke to Gianluca Di Marzio in your the special transfer preview, and this is what he had to say.
Arsenal wants him. They had the first contacts with the agents. Juventus bought him for 35 million euro plus bonus. So it depends on how much Arsenal wants to invest on this player, but I know that the first contacts are made by the parts, yes.
But what do you reckon, dudes? Do you think Kulusevski would be a good pick for Arsenal?
It's difficult, man. I think if you look at his Juventus form, it's difficult to take too much from it, given the fact he's barely played in a side that's really struggling this year. Juventus, at the time of writing, are 7th. They're 6 points behind 4th place Atalanta at the moment. But if you go back to that season he spent on loan at Parma, when he was on loan from Atalanta prior to that switch in 2019-20, and he was absolutely sensational. I think he won Young Player of the Year. He got 10 goals and 8 assists in 36 Serie A games. His stats from that season were really, really impressive. Nearly 2 shots per 90, 2.4 key passes, 2.3 dribbles. Overall, 0.48 expected goals and assists per 90, which is around the same as Bukayo Saka this year at Arsenal. And Saka, we know, has taken a massive leap on this year in terms of his sort of underlying numbers. But it's clear that he wouldn't be replacing Saka if he arrived. He'd be very much replacing Nicolas Pepe, who has struggled hugely. Not necessarily in terms of raw numbers. I mean, 25 goals and 18 assists in 98 games so far isn't terrible. Yeah. But after 10 goals and 1 assist in 29 league games last season, it was felt that this was the year that he was really going to push on and cement himself in that Arsenal starting lineup. And it just really hasn't materialised. 0 goals and 1 assist in 482 league minutes. We're filming this prior to Arsenal's game against Man United, so maybe that would have changed on Thursday night, but I somewhat doubt it. And he's played just 5 minutes of Arsenal's last 5 games at the time of writing. So if you could get good money for Pepe, I'm talking 35 million at this stage, which is a massive loss still on the, close to 80 million pounds they spent on him, and spent it on Kulusevski, that would be fine. But I think if they brought in Kulusevski and that affected their transfer kitty for next summer, where they're probably looking at bringing in a world-class number 9 with the likes of Vlahovic and potentially Dominic Calvert-Lewin being linked, then I don't think it's quite such a positive. But at the moment, right now, I think a point that needs to be raised is that maybe Saka and Smith Rowe need to be rotated a little bit more.
100%.
Saka played 46 games last season. He started every league game but one this year. And he's played 85 minutes in 8 of them. And Smith Rowe has played more minutes than anyone else in the Arsenal squad. So Kulusevski, he's in that age profile that they've started targeting over the last 12 to 18 months. He'd be a really interesting pickup, but if they lost, too much money on Pepe, obviously they're never going to recoup anything close to what they spent on him, then I think this could be a little bit of a waste with that striking option seeing, the more necessary going forward in terms of what to improve over the next 12 months. So I'm a little bit split on this one. I mean, Obbo, we've seen Arsenal really improve in the last few weeks. They're up to 5th in the Premier League prior to that game against Man United. As a Chelsea fan, you're obviously not too concerned about them as a title rival, but do you think they could get top 4 this year?
Yeah, I guess. Like I'm.
You don't sound very sure.
No, do you know what it is with Arsenal? It's always interesting because I always say that because of their history, like their recent history in terms of them having good periods and then they have down periods. They're literally one game away from like a crisis at all times. So we don't know what the United result's going to be. But if they lost that game, I'm not saying it's going to be the worst result, but we saw them lose 4-0. Was it 4-0? Yeah, it was 4-0 to Liverpool. Yeah. Obviously, that game just kind of went away from them, and we saw Arteta speak out about they just need to keep on moving. But I think that's the kind of spot that they're in right now. I wouldn't say that if I was to predict right now, I wouldn't put them in the top 4. But at the same time, he has almost got a system that's working for him, and if they're able to get results against the Manchester United, against the Leicesters, the Spurs that are going to be in and around that 4th and 3rd place, then I guess they could make it. But right now, I think maybe 5th or 6th.
Fair enough. Yeah, I think that's a good, fair assessment, to be honest. I mean, we've seen them beaten quite easily by Liverpool and Man City so far this year. But as you say, they've been very good at beating the teams much below them. Let's see what they can do against them, against a team in a pretty bad moment in Man United. I'm sorry, my computer just keeps on clicking, guys, in the background. I will try and sort that out ahead of our next section. But guys, let us know what you guys think of Kulusevski going to Arsenal and what you'd happily take for Nicolas Pepe. Get your thoughts to those questions in the comments down below. And let's move on to the transfer we don't like.
So before we get on to the transfer we don't like, make sure you like and subscribe to Euro Football Daily to keep up to date with all the content that we have coming up, because like we said, the transfer window is around the corner and we're going to be doing videos like this all the time, and I know that you want to keep up to date because you want to know who your team is signing, so yeah, yes. Do that. But anyway, the transfer we don't like, and it's kind of an awkward one because I like him as a player, but I don't know if this move makes any sense. But yeah, Doogie, who is it?
Yeah, it's Ousmane Dembele to Barcelona, and I totally agree with you. I really like him as a player, but I'm pretty bored of this move. I mean, it seems like it's been in the back of the papers for years now. 24-year-old Ousmane Dembele is once again being linked with a move to Old Trafford. According to reports earlier this week, including in Forbes, Barcelona are growing frustrated with the winger's reluctance to sign an extension to his current deal, which expires next summer. Now, when Xavi took over, he made it clear that the 27-cap Frenchman would be part of his plans going forward, and he said, supposedly, quote, he can be the best in the world in his position. But reportedly, if he doesn't sign by the 15th of December, that extension, he will be confined to the stands, just like Ilaix Moriba last year, who of course ended up at RB Leipzig this season. Dembele, apparently, is supposedly happy to sign, but his agent, who's called Moussa Sissoko, no links to the former Spurs midfielder, now of Watford, is reportedly holding out for, quote, a Ballon d'Or salary, which doesn't feel like he's really deserved it, given his work over the last few years. I mean, unfortunately, a lot of that is to do with injuries, which Obba will get onto in due course. According to Mundo Deportivo, United are keen to sign the former Dortmund player. So why, Obba, do we think, or you think, this is not potentially such a good idea?
The thing is, I really like Dembele, and there was a time where I'd put him on the level of Mbappe, but obviously we saw how far Mbappe has kicked on, and the biggest issue that he has is his injuries. He's missed 100 games with 13 separate issues since joining the club for 105 million euros back in August 2017. I didn't even know he's been there for that long, but that's with 4 spells of at least 13 games out. So that's not a player that deserves a Ballon d'Or sized salary, but you know, his agent thinks he's worth more than that. Anyway, he's already missed 16 games this season, and he's only ever made 54 league starts in 4.5 seasons, and he's only ever completed started more than 2,000 minutes in a single campaign, and that was once at Dortmund in the 2016-17 campaign. So that is one issue. Another issue is I don't know if United actually need him. If we're looking at the signings that they've made recently, they've obviously got Jadon Sancho for 85 million euros in the summer, and he's obviously going to be a key player for them moving forward. We've seen that he's kind of started to get into his rhythm. He scored a few goals. One, unfortunately against Chelsea, but we move.
Nice finish that one, although.
No, it was the composure there was really good, and obviously they've got Rangnick coming in as well. So I think that he's probably going to be able to get the best out of him because he's been a big admirer of Jadon Sancho. But aside from him, they've got a lot of other players in that position. They've got Martial, Greenwood. They've got Rashford. They've obviously got Lingard, who's can play out wide, but he's predominantly playing in the middle. They've got Ahmad, who's gone down to the under-23s, and he's actually scoring quite a few good goals as well. But one thing that I've always been not annoyed, because I don't care what United do, but the problem that they have is central defensive midfield. Yeah, they need a centre mid, and they also need a right back, because we've seen in recent weeks Aaron Wan-Bissaka hasn't been playing up to the levels that we would have expected from him at Old Trafford. So those are two positions that I think are more key. I do understand that if a player like Dembele, who when he is up to his best, could be a player that you could snatch for a good price if his agent wasn't trying to do a madness. But the fact that he is, I don't really know if it makes any sense at all. I also don't think that United, with the way their club is going, it seems like they're making much better decisions, especially with the fact that they've got Rangnick in, and he's going to be an advisor for 2 years, and then they're looking for a long-term manager after that as well. So I just don't see this one happening at all. But what do you reckon, Dukes?
Yeah, I don't get it either, to be honest. I really like Ousmane Dembele as a player. I thought last year, prior to his injury, he was probably his best form of his Barcelona career in fits and starts in that game, especially when he's playing more centrally, when Koeman switched to a back three. Unfortunate injury during the Euros, and he hasn't really managed to put together any games so far this season, or at least very limited minutes. So yeah, now is not the time to buy Ousmane Dembele, even on a free. For me, it's just not a high priority for Man United. And I guess Rangnick would really rate him from his time in Germany with that Dortmund season where he was absolutely phenomenal. But it's just not a priority right now. So I totally agree with you, Oba. But yeah, there we have it. Transfer preview done for another week. Oba's got to get himself to the O2 for a bit of WizKid. I'm going to be listening to WizKid for the rest of the week, man. Yeah, I'll be joining you at the next gig at the O2. Oba, though, if they have enjoyed watching this, what should they go and continue to watch on Euro Football Daily or the Football Daily universe as well?
You could go over to the Snapchat. We put out all of the stories that you don't necessarily see on our YouTube channel. So if you want to know what Ronaldo's been saying in his personal life, what new car he got, what new car Messi got in Paris, or where he's staying, come over to Snapchat and we'll tell you all about it.
Love it. Thanks very much for watching, guys. Big up WizKid, and we'll see you next time. Bye.
Peace.